Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover webinar. And we're starting to see the dollar try and make a hold here. Now, there was some news just a while ago, and the Turkish lira dropped or at some point and said that it plunged. And that's because there was a rare defeat for Drogan, and he's called for a redo of the election. Since his Turkey assets plunge with the lira down another 1.5% and 10-year yields jump to 20% as Turkey orders a rerun of the mayoral election in Istanbul, overturning a rare defeat for Erdogan. So that may have just, like I said, the euro was doing okay, just kind of, pushing a little bit higher, pushing a little bit higher, a little bit higher, and all of a sudden we just quickly slid back. Looks like about, 20 pips, and we saw the dollar, turn around and take a quick jump, and that may have been in part the reason. I'm not seeing anything else. Let's take a look here with news coming up. We do have, coming up in the U.S., we do have JOLTS job openings. Now, this is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we do have Canadian IVPMI, also 10 a.m. Eastern. Going to impact, obviously, the Canadian dollar. And that'll be it, for today coming in. We do have, for the Kiwi, dairy prices. That's because I know there's never an exact time, but it's shown here that the dairy prices, milk auctions would be at 8 a.m. Eastern. Because once again, I'm in Central Time, so add another hour if you're looking at Eastern Time. So let's see here. But that's it, relatively quiet. Once again, dairy prices at around 8 a.m. Eastern. JOLTS job openings at 10 a.m. Eastern, as well as IVPMI. We did see a pretty good rebound back in the S&Ps, but they brought them right back below a level we were looking at earlier in the morning at 2019, and another one that was coming in around 29, about 29.33. But we kind of held at that 29.19 area, and let's go into that quickly. You can see here on the spoofs, initially this 2019 held, there was a bit of a pause. We launched, we got above it, came right in here. You can see the which was support would have been resistance. It ran into that, got just a hair bit above it, and we quickly slid. Not only paired back, we even got below the 2019 after she got get into single digits before we've made a jump back here. Blake was right though. They did go in and buy the risk assets. Maybe got a little bit overdone. Once again, that BTFD mentality until it's proven wrong. We'll see what happens with this U.S.-China trade talks. I think it's still all up in the air, to be quite honest, but we'll see what happens on that. Gold had made it up to, we had yesterday, remember, we had 1287, so that proved to be formidable resistance. We quickly dipped back almost $10 before kind of bopping up in the middle. But we're still seeing the euro continue to press a little bit lower here. I think it's got to be that news with Turkey, with like I said, the lira plunges, and it probably put a little, and the dollar's already pushing lower, already put a good little undertone bid on this to pop back. And the euro have been taking its time trying to push a little bit higher, working really hard, and just turned around and just gave back a good chunk of those gains that it did have. Yesterday we talked about, remember, I posted that in here, the 34.93. I posted even when we were right there, that resistance, and we since did going to come off against that level here. Cables finally started to slide back a bit. And of course, we did have the RBA meeting, and we did have a good little jump here into the Aussie. We'll go and get into the news. Eventually, go and get into the cross rates. Let's just go take a quick look on those two while we're at it. Sterling versus the Aussie, we have gone and given a pretty good chunk of the gains finally back, although we are into that key resistance level we had before. Remember, before all the hullabaloo happened on Friday, this was a pretty good resistance area. Remember that 86.12 area here? And we kind of paired back, and then we kind of bugged. And one of the things I remember talking about was that being a key daily level. We can take a look over here. Oh, pull it up in here. So this is where we're finding some support. Right there at that 86.12 right here. So I think that's going to try and provide you can see right here coming across on the daily. Good little support here on the sterling versus the Aussie. And see if we can't. But boy, did we make a run there before, and Sunday, and finally started pairing back, and it's been a good little slide. But this is a good area right here, this 86.12. It was an area that thought we'd look for the market to go in a hold here, remember? And we did initially. I remember taking a trade. Before then, we took a dip, then we reasserted ourselves, and we're back at the 86.12. Remember, we jumped up, and then the market, it was key for this market to hold. It didn't want to break any lower than that 86.12 once it got above it. It was really holding up, and then we started to continue to move higher, and then, of course, the rest is history as we pushed up higher. Aussie Yen also made a quick little push, and we'll get to all those. So let's go in and move back and to the main screen, and then we'll jump into the news. Tensions in sight as U.S. Pence hits Berlin. Awkward subjects abound when U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo touches down in Berlin this afternoon. Aside from Washington's long-standing anger at Germany's refusal to meet NATO defense spending targets, there's also tension over Berlin's backing for the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project to carry Russian gas, and the possible participation of Chinese Huawei in building Germany's future 5G telecom network. Pompeo first has a meeting with Foreign Minister Heiko Maas before talks with Angela Merkel, scheduled for 6 p.m. local time, which is 1600 GMT. Downbeat comments by Labour's John McDonnell at the weekend about the state of cross-party Brexit talks were enough to send the pound lower yesterday, snuffing out some optimism that had surfaced last week. The crushing defeat of the ruling Conservatives at last week's local elections at less than stellar performance of Labour was spun by some officials as reinforcing the urgency for a deal. Yet McDonnell's line that negotiations with Theresa May's Conservatives were like dealing with the company heading into bankruptcy bolstered the theory that Labour would be wary of signing anything under her leadership. The talks are nonetheless due to resume today. The rift between, let's see, I'm not going to go into politics with Hungary and all that, market. Breakdown or brinksmanship. The seeming collapse of a U.S.-China trade truce that shocked world markets on Monday continues to reverberate, with London markets returning from a holiday on Monday to trade the news for the first time. President Donald Trump's bombshell that Washington would proceed to raise tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese goods to 25% from 10% by the end of this week sent Shanghai down by than 5% on Monday, its biggest one-day loss in more than 3 years. Trading was calmer on Tuesday. Shanghai spent most of the day in the red again, but close in positive territory. The later rally was helped when China confirmed Vice Premier He would still go to Washington on Thursday and Friday this week, encouraging speculation that Trump's move in response to the reported backtracking by China on some trade commitments was an attempt to force a deal by Friday. Hong Kong closed up 0.5%, but Seoul's Kospi ended almost 1.5% on Monday on the trade jolt, with futures down a further 0.2% overnight. European stocks reversed early losses to trade flat. The dollar was generally weaker, with 10-year Treasury yields back above 2.3% after Monday's drop. Euro dollar was higher after the below forecast German industrial order gains from March. Despite the general gloom about the Eurozone economy, economic surprise indices for the bloc are down now at least negative in 8 months. In emerging markets, Turkey's lira is back in a tailspin. It had plummeted more than 3% since early Monday through 6 per dollar after the Turkey's election board ruled to annul and rerun on June 23rd Istanbul mayoral elections, which President Erdogan had lost. Challenges by the AKP to the March 31 election result in Istanbul showed a narrow victory for the opposition CHP party, have hit the lira in recent weeks. Istanbul, Turkey's main commercial hub, accounts for a third of the country's economic activity. Elsewhere, sterling gained after weakened speculation the ruling UK Conservative and opposition Labour Party may push forward with a Brexit compromise deal after heavy defeats for both parties in local elections. And on to the Aussie. The Aussie jumps as the RBA holds rates steady and the dollar drifts lower. The Australian dollar sharply rose on Tuesday after the country's central bank held rates at a record low, dashing speculations that may ease policy following a below par reading of inflation. The Aussie was last up 0.7 at 73.35 after the RBA held its cash rate at 1.5%. Ahead of the policy decision, a slim majority of economists polled by Reuters had expected the central bank to keep rates steady. While the RBA policy was unchanged, it opened the door on future cuts if the jobs market failed to push unemployment lower as retailers suffered their worst quarter in 7 years. Elsewhere in currency markets, the dollar kept largely to familiar ranges against major peers, even as comments from U.S. trade officials that China had moved away from trade-related commitments weighed on bond yields and stock futures. The dollar index against a basket of 6 rivals was down at 97.40. From China's perspective, a breakup in negotiations isn't really favorable for the domestic economy. I think they want to get a deal one way or the other, said Yukio Ishizuki. While there have been talks that the Washington and Beijing might reach a trade deal this week, it's unlikely negotiations will take a bit more time. Late on Monday, Robert Litzinger and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin said China moved away from commitments made over the course of trade negotiations. Litzinger said his office would probably put a notice on Tuesday about a proposed increase on tariffs, $200 billion worth of Chinese goods to 25%. Let's see, the dollar dipped slightly, and that's pretty much it. So let's go on and move into the analysis. So the euro, no real big changes here in the euro. We have seen this dip right here. We're kind of sliding back. The market traded relatively quiet since yesterday afternoon. And when we look at it here on the daily, we had had an engulfing bar on Friday. And that was key with the NFP. And then Monday stayed within those ranges, but still finished a little bit stronger, higher. And then on today, we're kind of dipping. But we haven't moved much at all, really. We had that resistance at 12.29. You can see that up here, but we only made it up to about 12. Looks like we made it up to about 12.18. We dropped off 20 pips rather quickly. I think may have been that the Turkish news. So no changes here on the euro. We did have this level right here, which I guess the market had some trouble. That was right there at 12.19. That's what ran out of gas. But I think it was the news that dragged it down. Probably because it was so quiet, it made it easier to slip. But we're not seeing any changes here. We're going to keep things pretty steady here. We'll keep the 1229, and we had the 1166. I had 1164. We're going to keep that. Moving on to cable. Well, this market has the opportunity to move much higher in regards to the technical, the close that we saw on Friday, but look how we've turned around and given a pretty good little chunk of this back. Let's go and take a look at where we stand here on the 2-hour. Daily support would come in right there at 30.94. We had our bar in the 2H at 30.84. There's the daily support, 30.94. We rebounded, but we've come back. It would seem likely they'd want to try and test the stops here. And that came right back to that 50%. I think people will be a little bit shy getting too bearish on this market, even though it you can see right there. Actually be right there, 30.52, 30.52. Nice even volume area right here, 30.52. With resistance coming in right there at 31.28. Keep it fairly tight. And let's go and move into the Aussie dollar. Well, the RBA held rates steady, and we saw a nice rebound. One of the things we're looking at right here was the 69.55, the 61%. I thought they may trip that on Sunday and then come back through it on the upside. They came close to it. I mean, they came at 69.22. We're having difficulty with this 70.27 we've had in place before. Resistance would come in right there, 70.56. They need to go and defend this, continue to defend this 70 cents level. You can see this coming right across there at 69.96. We're going to keep it pretty tight here. Let's take a look at it on the 2-hour chart. It's easy for this market to go on and slide right back through here. So yeah, there it is, 69.96 coming right across. You can actually see the case to be right there for 70 cents for them to defend that. It's so close though, very, very close. Well, this is where it all breaks down here if it gets below this. So they may want to slide back and test this. So it's going to be back to the 69.86. And when you look at it here on the daily, which is actually 69.84 right there. We get past that, and then it really opens the door for them to really press beyond that. We'll call it 69.86. And let's go and move on to the Kiwi. We do have dairy auctions today. And we do have RBNZ up ahead, not for today, but we do have RBNZ. I believe that's tomorrow. We're still trying to hold our own right here with the Kiwi. I don't see any changes here with the 65.45 if we do break right here. Right here, the 65.45 and then 66.50 up in here. No changes whatsoever here on the Kiwi. But we do have dairy auctions today. We have the dollar CAD. We had our resistance yesterday at 34.92. I did go on and post this in the room when we were right there. Hey, we're right there now. Here's that 34.92, 92, 93 area, and that's right where the market stopped. And we've since had a pretty decent little pullback. No changes in a sense here with the dollar CAD too, because that ended up holding. That held right here. That was a good little sell because remember, one of the things we covered in the Asian analysis is its inability to close higher when it had that opportunity, and that 35.04 was going to be pretty good, resistance. So we had moved this down here to 34.93. Looking up if we're going to tighten this up a bit here. I don't know if we want to move this. I mean, we can move it down here to 34.73 because trying to get back up here, we're trying to push this much higher. I think really any moves back up here to 34.74 would be people will start if they're looking for a move lower. We are looking for a move lower is another area if they were to jump up that they would go and try and fade against that. So we'll move this down to 34.74 here on the CAD. And support right there, 34.15. So that level is holding here. And moving into the Kiwi versus the Yen. So we had our support here at 72.97. We're actually looking at the daily chart here. Obviously, with the big moves that we saw in light of the volatility, the whole trade news, that 72.97 is still holding. And then we put the resistance up here, 73.51. And that's coming in right there, 73. So no changes right here. We do have RBNZ, as I said, coming up. I believe that's tomorrow. So no changes here for the Kiwi Yen. And let's go with the dollar peso. Well, the dollar peso, we've had some decent little volatility back and forth as the market has tried to decide what it wanted to do. You can see here we gapped up as we got that news. We actually gapped and then we kind of paired back a bit and then we reasserted ourselves coming up to that 1910. Well, by the time we came on, this high had already been in place, but we thought that was a pretty good level right there on the resistance. And on the way back down, we're looking for 19 cents. 19, well, it even got beyond that as we paired back down here. It's still a mixed bag here with this peso. But looking at just the technicals right here, we're going to just stay just as far as straight up levels. The area of contention right here would be 1905, right there, 1905. And on the downside, it'd have to be right here to 1892, 1892.3 if they want to test these stops here. I don't think so. We've already taken the dip here, okay? We rally back up and we held this on a closing basis at 1895 too. Hard to see it just turn around and breaking down right here. Let's just go with this technical right here, 1892. It's not even really very good. This market's so all over the place. Well, we're gonna use just kind of like a pivot right here, and that's gonna be 18,953. Thinking if they get beyond that, it's gonna open the door for them to go lower. So it'll be 18,953. Let's go now move into the dollar yen. Well, this one hit our area here that we had in the Asian analysis. Now, this was obviously the Asian analysis was done well before we had the tweet that broke the markets. Me and I forgot who else it was. We picked up the yen. I think it was 1030. I think it was 1035 or 1037. Then we saw a pretty good rebound, but I myself had only kept it for a scalp. And we're kind of mixed bagging it here. And certainly it looks like we wanted to go in and move lower, and we're looking for lower prices in time. This was going to be a pause, but obviously we saw the market gap lower. Let's go and take a look at this on the 2-hour chart. And I think we kept the 1028 as our support, which was at the time the 78% of that recent move. And we had 1087. The market got up as high as what? 1096. You can see here the closing right here, this 1091. Right there. We're going to use that as resistance. 1092. We'll have the support right here, keeping it pretty tight. 1056, 1056. This is actually my first target on the when we picked up the dollar yen there. Because we said there's a little mini area 1045. It was 1056 that we had. So let's use that as our support here. That was on the way up when we picked it up as a scalp. Just call it 1055. Right now, the hopes are that the talks will still go on, so we may not see this come unglued at this time. So for now, for today, it's 1055, and we're going to the cash dollar index. Now, we talked about the importance of this losing the 97.89 area on Friday, and we're looking for a further pullback. We did, kind of hold this area. I don't know if it was, I'm kind of thinking it was the Turkish news saying that the dropped, 1.5%. We're looking potentially for as low as 97.24. Nothing's going to change. We're going to go and keep this 97.24 here. We do have a resistance at 97.68. Same thing. I want to keep that in place here. Overall, this market is clearly bullish, but on a short-term basis, because we will begin to think that we're at the beginning of a pullback, that we'll see this market, move lower. Okay, so there's not going to be any changes here. 97.24, 97.68. We'll take a look at the 2-hour. There's your 97.68 coming across. You can see the significance of that 97.68. That's going to remain as resistance, and 97.24 as support. No changes for the cash dollar index. And moving on to the gold market. Well, the 1287 kept this market in check, and there's no changes. I mean, like I said, you would have thought we would have seen more volatility, but the thinking is, well, one of the things that kept things in check, I mean, Blake pointed it out too, or he himself is the one that pointed out, when he was doing the face webinar, Becky Cook on CNBC said, hey, China's still coming. So, as he said, everybody keeping the optimistic look, thinking maybe this was just a negotiation, ploy by Trump saying, oh, that's it, we're going to do this, forget it. And so our 1287 held, kept the market in check here. And on the downside, we kept it relatively tight too. 1278. So there's no changes here. Things quieted down, and we obviously saw the equities come back. They've dipped back, but then they came back once again a little bit in the middle. So no changes here for the gold market. And we'll move into the cross rates. So we held this level here on the euro pound. We've lightened things up. We've seen starting to come back in a bit after, I guess, looked like this thing was taken off to Venus, and now things have kind of quieted down a bit here. Resistance kind of coming right there at 85.79. Take a look at it here on the 2-hour. You can see it right there. So it's going to be 85.79. Support. 85.27. We've made a stand right here at that 23.59 area here in the yen, euro yen, and we're showing resistance coming in at 24.09. Right there, we did make that jump in here, right into that level of 24.20. So we did get past this 24.09. Market still wants to roll over a bit here. Because we're with this body right here, closed below that, at least for now, actually came all the way right up to there, 24.27. What a heck of a move back before succumbing. But you can see here with the exponential moving averages where we'd find some resistance coming in at 24.17. Thinking this will move a little bit lower. Let's go right there, 24, right there, 24.13. Right there, we'll go 24.13. We're going to go with the level right here, which is going to be right there, 23.57. 23.57 for support. Obviously, since this thing is bearish, it still has a propensity to move lower. We got right there, 23.58. We'll keep that. And let's take a look here with Euro Aussie. Obviously impacted with the RBA. And here's the support level right here at 59.02. Boy, what a pretty big drop back after all the excitement. So it's going to be here at 59.02. And any of the rallies back I would think, be faded here, and that's going to come in right there, 59.79. $59.65 would be the 38%. So you may see a little bit of resistance come in there. Maybe a far push to try and get up that high. Let's go with 59.71 here. Right there. 59.71 for resistance. And 59.65 would be the 38%. So we'll go 59.71 on resistance. We are struggling right here with this 69.47 area here. Good resistance too. That's what we had for yesterday's resistance. We pushed above it, but we're not able to, so far we haven't been able to close above it. We're going to go on and keep this for now, resistance and support. Head for 68.72. Let's look at the 2-hour again. Boy, this is one medium-legged doji, or long-legged doji, I meant to say. Resistance would come in right there. Not resistance, but support. And it actually comes in. If they're going to hold and try and push, make the push hard, that's where your support's going to come. You're going to find some buying back on this thing. 69.14. Let's go moving now to the Aussie Yen. We had the 77.72. Obviously, a pretty good reaction back as things quieted down. And obviously, with the RBA on top of that, The market may not be taking any chances on getting full. So right now, the market will be looking at right there at 77.90 on any resistance. So that's who you know. Any moves above that, then the market will look to push higher. But it's going to be 77.90 for resistance. Until we get some clarification, or not clarification, but some clarity on this whole China business. For right now, this will be your support area, 77.32. They could easily test the stops here, so 77.32. So we just broke below this 44.91, and we've seen the, like I said, the starting weekend after this news. Like I said, boy, but it did look like we were going to Venus with this thing on Friday. I'm talking about with all the sterling pairs. Support now comes in right there, 44.67. We're coming in just right here at the 61%. So I like that 44.67 there for support. And there's resistance, 45.41. We're coming in pretty close right now, and 45.41. Well, we came on the show talking about this 86.12, and we were just touching there, right, or just about there when it came on the show. Now we can see this moving away from this. You can see here as we started moving up and higher. See, since we came on the show, I think we came on the show. Yeah, there we were, right here. So we were coming in close to that 12, and since then we've kind of started turning things around. But boy, what a surprise after Fridays. Boy, it looked like this thing was same thing with this. And we did go and jump much higher. But this is key on the Sterling Aussie. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. You look on the daily. This is a key level here on the daily. So you can see why they would defend that area here as we're coming on into the show. So looking here, that's going to be the support right there, 86.12. And that's big support. We'll put here at 86.12. We'll put the little asterisk because it's also daily. Resistance. Far cry here at 87.11, but we'll take a look if we can't get a confluence, maybe a 23% back. Yeah, 86, 86, 82. You see, we came in here just to tag this area here. We had a resistance at 82.50. They came up as high as 82.58 and a half. But you can see this right there. And they're turning with some momentum. Support is going to come in right there, 82.06. And the resistance right there, 82.53. And there's the bias chart for today. I'll get that posted in the room. And thanks for joining us here in the European crossover. And we'll catch you a little bit later on in the room. Thank you for stopping by.